It doesn't stop being average. It begins to be elite when you can cross the line. Today is that kind of day. You can feel it. You can sense it. The guy said, my body is sore. My mind is hurting. So I'm going to shut down today. We got a chance to do one thing that every team in the country can't do. We got a chance to step up, man. We got a chance to step on the ledge, you know what I mean? And to me, I think it's a free fall. To be elite, you got to take a free fall. That means you can't be afraid to go to the edge. And coach said, jump. He said, how far, coach? Where you want me to go? Every guy got a chance to do that today. If you're elite, grab somebody today. Take him with you. There's no more average in this program. There's no more average in this program.
The Clemson Tigers are back for another year, and they did not use the transfer portal. That's kind of part of the story behind the title that I'm going to explain at the end of the video. Hi, everybody. I am Colin Bashnigal, your host at Bash's College Football Show. Today, we're going to talk about the Clemson Tigers and see how they're going to do in 2024. Last year, they went 9-4. We'll see if they can take a step up or maybe even a step down. But for you guys out there, if you like what I'm doing here, make sure you subscribe to catch some more content, and also comment down below what you think each of these teams are going to do and what team you would like to see going forward. If you got any notes for me or any comments at all, it's all free in the comment section. I'm here for criticism. I'm here for commentary. I'm here for whatever, because opinion and discussion brings you a community. We are trying to build a community here, a nice little college football community. We're only going to be able to do that with opinions that we share with one another through our discussions. That's the only way we're going to do it. You can find me on TikTok, as you saw on the handle below, Basher CFB Show, which is where this whole title thing came from in the first place. Bash_CFB is where you can find me on Twitch or X. And you can come to Twitch if you want to chat in the live chat and talk a little bit and you know, have a little bit of a conversation. I won't be doing that, obviously, when I'm recording the YouTube video, but I will be doing that beforehand if I have a second take or whatever, because I tripped up over my words. Or if you want to comment during the taping of the video, I'll respond after the video and we can have a little bit of a conversation for a little while before I get off. With that being said, we're going to go straight into the Clemson breakdown, which starts with the coaching staff. It always does. Dabo Swinney brings back Garrett Riley, and he also brings back Wes Goodwin, his coordinators from last year. Now, the paths to Clemson are a little bit different. Garrett Riley was a big splash hire last year off of that TCU national championship team, and Wes Goodwin worked his way up the program. Some people might say he's one of Dabo's cousins, kind of the same way that Streeter was a couple years ago. This is going to be interesting because I feel like Wes Goodwin has done a pretty decent job with the defense the last couple of years. And I do think that Garrett Riley's a great offensive mind. And I think Dabo Swinney is going to give him a little bit more freedom. But does he have the personnel for that freedom to really live up to the hype that it could potentially be as a play caller? Well, let's talk about what they lost, what they gained, and what they did not gain in the transfer portal. I'm going to keep taking jabs like that. So let's just talk about the guys going off to the next level or their life after football. Will Shipley is the big-time name that everybody is going to know on offense. The running back was a really good player. Also, Will Putnam was a big-time center, a multi-year starter for them. He is gone. You have Tyler Davis and Ruka Rororo. I always do that with him, but, two big-time interior defensive linemen that they are losing. Same with Xavier Thomas, who's outside. He's more of an edge player, but he was a big physical guy that they're going to be losing and going to have to replace. Jeremiah Trotter, the linebacker, a standout last year. He is gone. And then Nate Wiggins and Sheridan Jones. Specifically, Nate Wiggins, he's an absolute stud, a freak, and that is definitely going to be missed in this Clemson secondary. Guys, just notable players that played a little bit that are transferring out. Brandon Spector was one that played a good bit for this team. He's transferring to Jacksonville State. Andrew Mukaba is the one that stood out to me, and Toriano Pride. Those two guys in the secondary leaving on top of Wiggins and Jones. That is a massive loss, especially Mukaba, who I thought could potentially take a step forward. He's off to Texas, and Pride's off to Missouri. You also got the wide receiver, Bo Collins, who played a lot, started. He's going off to Notre Dame. And then outside of that, nothing too notable, nothing too crazy that you're losing. Sage Ennis, I guess, a good depth piece at tight end. But when you talk about what Clemson's bringing back here, you can have some confidence. They're bringing back a good bit of their offensive line. Marcus Tate stepping in at center. Walker Parks is back. Blake Miller is back. Tristan Lee is also back. And then you get to the skill positions. And this is where things get a little bit dicey for this team. Now, Phil Maffa, I think, is a really good running back, and they bring back the quarterback, Cade Klubnik, as we know. But Antonio Williams, to me, he's got some high ceiling. I picked him to be one of my breakout players last year. Didn't exactly break out. He's a slot guy, but he is also very versatile as well. Troy Stellato, I don't know why I hesitated on that, but Troy Stellato is also back. He's kind of a, he can produce, but what we're just going to have to see with him. And then you're going to have some younger guys. Tyler Brown is going to step in at receiver. TJ Moore is going to have to step up. Cole Turner got a lot of good looks at the end of the year. I think Cole Turner, if this passing offense is going to learn to be prolific, is a big reason why. And then you also got the freshman out of Bryant Wesco that a lot of people are going to gloss over. Now, I think he's a raw talent. I think he's probably going to have to develop a year or two, but I think Bryant Wesco could easily be a good player down the line for them. And then also Jake Brenning's still back at tight end. He's a big mismatch in the throw game, and he's not a bad blocker himself, so that's going to be big. And then on the defensive side, you bring back a little bit. It's nothing crazy. We talked about what they're missing up front. They're not really returning a lot that gives you a lot of confidence, but you do have Barrett Carter coming back at linebacker. He is an absolute stud, probably the best player back on this defense. You get some other guys like Kobe McLeod, who plays linebacker, and Wade Woodas, who's going to have to step up. And Woodas played a little bit last year, a good bit last year, so that's definitely big. Avian Terrell, we'll see if he's ready to take a step forward as a sophomore. His freshman year got some run, but for the most part, didn't get asked to do much. And outside of that, it's really a mystery. Like Jalen Lucas is one you got to watch out for Jaden Lucas is one you got to watch out for to be able to play a little bit. And then RJ Mickens, he's going to be a very big security blanket in the secondary, given the fact that he's got a lot of experience, been playing a lot of football over at Clemson. He's a really good safety. I like RJ Mickens a lot. Definitely helps this defense. So overall, when you look at Clemson, they don't bring in any transfers. And the thing that is, we're going to reference that Chick-fil-A comment. Look, I got into it with J.D. Pickell, not in a bad way. He was very respectful, very nice to me, actually very supportive of me being a smaller content creator. But J.D. Pickell made a video talking about comparing college football teams to fast food restaurants. Me being the way that I am, I responded it with one thing that he said. He said that with Chick-fil-A, you essentially get a product and they have their own principles, like they're closed on Sundays and they have their own values that they talk about. Nobody really cares about that as long as that product is good. Nobody was talking about Clemson not using the portal back in 2018. And I'm like, JD, maybe it's because the portal didn't really exist back in, the time that they were having success. He really said like the streak that they had 2 national championships and 6 college football playoff appearances. Maybe the portal wasn't around back then. He did respond and he was like, 2018, there was the portal. The portal wasn't the same. You guys got to realize that the one-time transfer rule came in 2021, and Clemson's fall off began in 2021. They had 3 losses in 21. They did get better and only have 2 losses in 2022, but then they were 4-4 midway through the year last year, or a little bit beyond the halfway point last year. Ended up rebounding and winning their last 5 games and playing good football down the stretch. But I think Clemson has to use the portal, and I think that this prediction is kind of going to reflect that. I was very high on Clemson last year. I didn't think that the portal would exactly impact them as much as it did, but they were 4-4 to start the year, and I picked them to make the college football playoff. As somebody else, another creator, CF Budge, picked them to win the national championship. I get what he was thinking. I get why there was Clemson hype, but there's a reason why they fell off a cliff. They didn't patch any holes, and they had holes. I think this team still has holes. I think they have holes at wide receiver. I think they're not super deep, or at least proven at running back to be deep. I think that they're also going to struggle on the defensive line. I think they're also going to struggle with depth just in general, having to point to a lot of younger guys. Sammy Brown, a true freshman, probably going to have to play a good bit. And at a position like linebacker, I don't know if he's going to be ready for that. So that's going to all factor in as we talk about the predictions here. And again, spelled preview wrong. Oh, well. All right. And I did fix it for the thumbnails for the videos, by the way. So my bad on that. I meant to gloss over that. I think they're going to open up with a loss against Georgia. I think Georgia's going to be a much better team. They're going to have a lot of threats, and there's not going to be any film on this version of Georgia, which I think skill position-wise is the most dangerous version of Georgia this year that they have had since Kirby Smart got there. You could talk to me, about the Mecole Hardman and Terry Godwin team and that stuff, but that's what you have. Then you have App State. App State, I think they're going to beat. I don't really think App State's all that good anymore. Like, they're kind of going to be they're going to be a bowl team, but they're not going to be that team that was like 10, 11 wins for a couple of years in the Sun Belt and just that regular perennial kind of upset alert that they had been. Now, I know App State also beat Texas A&M recently. Was that last year? That might have been last year. If it was last year, it felt like forever ago. That's why we need football back. But anyway, I do think that they're going to be able to win, and I think they will have no problem winning against App State. But if you sleepwalk through that game, they could definitely bite you. NC State, you're off of a bye. NC State is not. NC State plays Tennessee that same week that you play App State, and I think that's going to be a heck of a game. I think NC State's a heck of a team, but I do have a little bit of respect for Clemson, and I think that they do have a lot of talent, especially early in the season. I think they're going to be very competitive. I have them beating NC State to improve to 2-1 and win their first conference game. Moving on to the Stanford game, the first, and I spelled Stanford wrong. Another typo there. Or would you look at that? Stanford with an O instead of an I. Man, I'm going to get bullied by all my buddies about this. I'm trying to get through all these videos. All the focus really goes on these notes and trying to get the prep here. You get typos like this, but I'm not stopping the video because of that. Anyway, Stanford, like bird, apparently. I think they win no problem. I like what they're doing out there at Stanford with Troy Taylor, but it's going to take some time. It really will. It was a disaster when he took over. I love what David Shaw was able to do, but he overstayed his welcome a little bit, and Stanford was a mess. I think Clemson wins. Before going to Florida State, man, I think this is going to be a great game. The DJU revenge game. The hype is definitely going to be there, especially if Clemson wins these couple of games right before this. I think that the hype train is going to be on this game, just like I talked about. But I think Florida State's just a deeper team. They're a little bit better. They leverage the portal better. I'm going with Florida State in this one, and that's going to give Clemson its second loss of the year right there. I think they turn around and beat Wake Forest, though I don't think it's going to be easy. Wake Forest might be a team a lot of people are sleeping on. I do think Dave Clawson has a good team out there, but I think he's a year away still. You move on to the Virginia game, and I think you win that game, but Virginia is definitely a team that's going to be a lot better this year. I think a lot of people, though, are overhyping how much better Virginia is going to be. And I think people are downplaying how much worse Louisville's about to be. I'm not high on Louisville at all. Maybe I'm going to be wrong about it. I really do like Jeff Brom, but I think that he's kind of got to repair the image. The NIL over there at Louisville's a train wreck. Plus, this is going to be off a bye for Clemson. So I'm going with Clemson in the game there against Louisville. Then they have to go to Blacksburg. And Virginia Tech fans, I need nothing more than for this to be a night game with Virginia Tech to be as good as I expect them to be. You look at what Virginia Tech brings back. They bring back everybody, number one. And this, number two, the offense was clicking on another level. And they got maybe with Dorian Strong and Manzor Delane, they maybe have the best, without a shadow of a doubt, the best cornerback duo in the ACC and one of the best in the country that nobody talks about. Dorian Strong's going to be a high draft pick. Mansour Delane is a really good player, and they have weapons on offense. Allie Jennings, who got hurt early on in the year. Then you get guys like Byshul Tootin at running back, and Felton is also back, and they're loaded there. And I think if Brett Pry doesn't screw it up, this Virginia Tech team is going to be in the thick of the ACC race. And I can't wait to go and preview Virginia Tech. And I'm so mad that it starts with the letter V, because if it didn't, I would be previewing Virginia Tech as soon as I possibly can, because I'm excited to talk about the Hokies a little bit. I think that that's one of the better teams in the conference. I think that's going to be one of the toughest places to play, especially in November, if Virginia Tech wins the way I expect them to. I think Clemson drops a third one right there. A little bit demoralized. They go to Pitt and eke out an ugly win. I'm not high on the Pitt Panthers. I think this could be Pat Narduzzi's last year, but we'll see about it. Every time you think Pitt is dead, they always come back and they bite somebody, or they end up having a pretty good season. We'll see if Pitt is better than I expect them to be, but I think that Clemson goes into Heinz Field and wins that game and beats the Citadel, no problem. And I went back and forth on this one, and I was really torn, but I kind of like South Carolina's upside towards the end of the season. I just hope the SEC schedule doesn't bang them up and they're able to come to the late stretch of the season. They play Wofford right before Clemson, which, to be fair, Clemson plays the Citadel, but they play Wofford right before Clemson, so maybe a chance to recover back and forth. But because Clemson doesn't use the portal, I'm being petty, and I am saying that South Carolina wins the Battle of the Palmetto, or the Battle of the Palmetto State, or whatever they call it down there. So as mad as this might make the cult-like fan base that is Clemson, man, I'm going to turn off a lot of Clemson fans. Look, if you guys do have success, I'm going to be the first one to say Clemson is back. Clemson is here. Clemson, Dabo was right. I will be the first one. I will beat Uncle Lou to the punch. I will beat Menace to Sports to the punch. I'll beat everybody to the punch in talking about, look, Dabo has it right. He just needed a couple of years to figure it out. And, man, you guys are going to take that as a personal shot that I picked South Carolina to beat you. But I'm going with it. I bought into you last year. I picked you to make the playoff last year. You incredibly let me down. And I just can't buy in. It's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo Bills, or anybody like that in the NFL. I just cannot buy in until you prove it to me. You got to prove to me that you can win in spite of not using the transfer portal. That's what Clemson has to prove to me. 8-4, 6-2 in conference, which I hate 8 games with no divisions, but it is what it is. It might be good enough to get to the conference championship game, depending on what else happens. I think the ACC is average enough. They might beat each other up. That's just the truth. So the Clemson Tigers, 6-2 in conference. It gives them maybe a shot, an outside shot to make the ACC championship. And that's going to be their only hope in my eyes to make the college football playoff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night, and I will see you in the next video.